Hello, divine beings. Welcome to this sacred space. Today I am being called to share on what I was shown in my mind's eye while meditating. I saw a bud turning into flower. The flower released golden dust from the center, and another flower came out of it. It bloomed and it was releasing golden dust. And from the second flower came the third flower, and the process continued. I am calling it the infinite bloom and putting it in the theme of evolutionary continuity. I tried making a hand drawing of the visual. I put the stars at the center of the flower, which you'll also see. So then in the morning walk, I saw a plant with similar pattern. I clicked its picture to share here. This was no random coincidence. I knew it was some kind of synchronicity, and I was meant to speak on it and how it deciphered for me, hoping that might be useful for somebody else. So every flower kind of starts as a bud, right? It's tight, it is contained. It's like it holds the entirety of its potential within it. Now, as I am saying this, I feel like calling it a single silent point where everything begins, right? Where it all begins from there. So in this moment, you are not just a flower, but you are a vessel for specific design. And this design is your divine blueprint. It's the invisible geometry that dictates your essence. Like the number of your leaves, it's like if you see yourself as a flower, the number of your leaves, the curve of your petals, the depth of your hue, right? And every flower is different. Now, as the petals, when they began to pull back, there's a lot of effort that goes into it, right? So what we can learn from this is that growth is not a passive event, right? It's more of a very, very active kind of unfolding that happens. Like it's like one is stretching against the boundaries of who you were yesterday to become who you are meant to be now. Now, as the first bloom reaches its peak, it does not stop, right? So it's kind of saying that, okay, each flower is offering a new version of itself. So in our lives, we often might just cling to our current bloom. We identify with our current successes, our current body, our current thoughts. But the blueprint, the divine blueprint, that demands movement. So there has to be continuity. So from the flower comes the next flower, right? So the color may shift. Each version of you may be a tailored avatar, but the core architecture remains. So when I was drawing the flowers, I also saw a 5-pointed star at the center of each star. One can treat that star as a constant, right? In whatever the color of the flower you are into, whatever size of the flower you are into, there's always a star in the center, the same constant star, right? I would like to call it your constant. You may call it as the lesson of the soul, right? The form may change, the environment may shift, but your signature, that remains eternal. So it's like with every flower, you are shedding an old version of you, not because it was wrong, but because the earlier flower has served its purpose as the foundation for the next. And the flower doesn't drop off, right? So each layer is kind of a life that you have lived, a lesson that you have learned, a version of you that has kind of reached its full expression in the cycle of ascension. So in the divine blueprint, the earlier flowers are not lost. Actually, they are still there because they might fade into the background as a flower, but they are actually becoming the stem. And you can treat it like every earlier version of you is a part of the history that supports your current height. Okay, so So how I understood it is as like bud is your innocence, your first discovery of self. The star is a constant, your lesson of the soul, right? The flower in bloom is your wisdom, your cooling of passions, your depth. And the golden dust that comes out of each flower, which I also saw in my mind's eye, is the spirit, right? The dust that surrounds the blooming, right? It's kind of, you can look at it like energy that is being released when you let go of your ego or your earlier identities to make room for the higher self. So, a good question could be, one can ask yourself, which version of me am I standing upon today, and what new color is currently pushing through my center, right? So you can see this rising stem with multiple flowers, reaching upwards. It's kind of a pillar of light. um, so as one moves upwards, one is blooming, but also side by side integrating and getting a stronger stem or getting stronger. One may treat that as wisdom, right? So one has to remember that one is a work of infinite layers. One has to understand that transformation is a process, right? It's not kind of a static object that you pick up from somewhere and put it somewhere else. It's a journey. It's a process. So, and the divine blueprint, right? The design, the DNA, the meaning in the DNA kind of ensures that no matter, how many times you transform, you will always be you. You cannot lose your essence. You can only refine it. Right? So as the golden rays, I also saw that the golden rays may, they were pulsing behind the blooms, right? So it's like it's a pulse, right? So hold that. It's kind of honoring that version of yourself, right? So it's not that uh, the earlier flowers are bad in some way, right? It's just an earlier version of yourself that had to be shed so that you could stand where you are today. So honor the bud, honor the earlier versions of your flower, and wait for the new one to open, right? So you are the flower, you are the gardener, you are the light that makes the growth possible. Thank you.